Oh, there we go. Oh my gosh, this is
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Think Outside Fishing Podcast presented by Baits.com. Today, I've got another great guest joining us. Man, he's kind of one with the frog. He's one of the best, in my opinion, when he's throwing a frog. Hopefully, Fred will join us here in a second. Is he going to load in? There he is. How's it going, Fred?
Hey, good morning, Joey. It's doing great.
Good.
Morning.
So I really wanted to bring you on today, Fred, and really just dive into frog fishing. Obviously, you're wearing the shirt or sweatshirt right there, yeah. Frog Factory. It's kind of your brand. You're the man behind the brand. And I really just wanted to dive into all that. So let's kind of start from the beginning. What sparked your interest in frog fishing? What made you design the Boom Frog? Like, well, kind of talk me through that whole process. How long ago was it like, hey, I'm the frog man? You know what I mean? Like this is what I do, you know?
It stems way back. I grew up in California. I cut my teeth in tournament bass fishing on the California Delta. And the Delta, as most know, it's a vast grass fishery river system. Basically from San Francisco Bay, it leads all the way up to the rivers in Sacramento. And in the middle, there are just milfoil, hydrilla, not so much lily pads, tules, reeds. It's just wild, but you also get the moss growth. A lot of the big cheese mats in the late spring, summer, all the way through the fall. And man, those big bass live under there. And it really got me excited just fishing tournaments. I mean, back in the day, if you weren't throwing a frog, pretty much 8 months of the year, you weren't really competing on the Delta. So I learned pretty young, to get a lot of confidence and start winning with frog. So it kind of carried me because I took that technique from California, east, and started fishing some events as I got better and started fishing nationally. And it's just kind of been a technique that's carried me all the way through my career. I've got a couple big wins with it. First one at La Crosse, Wisconsin, back in 2005, and then an Elite Series tournament at Lake Murray, which I think was the first one I ever won on a frog. Back in 2008. So, it's been a while. There's a little history behind it, but, carrying it forward. And it's funny because I just mentioned this the other day. It's almost my fallback technique now. I'm looking for other things. And then when things don't go right, I just go back to throwing a frog and I usually catch them. So and I tell people it's becoming muscle memory more than anything, just from doing it for so many years.
Totally. No, that's cool. Do you kind of want to talk about your Lake Murray tournament briefly? I mean, that's when I first figured out really who you were. I was a young angler at that time, but I saw this whole coverage of you literally whooping everyone on a frog. And I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. You know what I mean? Like you caught everyone with a frog.
Honestly, that tournament is a perfect example of what I was just saying. I actually got on, it was kind of a late spring tournament. It was May. It's kind of like towards the end of May, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, I actually found a giant on a bed the last minute of practice. And it was down lake by Goat Island, like near the dam area. And I threw a 6-inch Senko down, weightless, Texas rig. And I watched it come up and it would have engulfed it, but I reeled in real quick. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm starting on this fish. Then I had some blueback herring shallow points. I was catching them on a super spook. And I felt really good about that as my game plan for the tournament. But I really wanted this big bass because I knew this fish could carry me pretty far in this tournament. So we had our briefing and everything. Next morning we get out there. We got some cloud cover. We had a little bit of storm. And I sat there on this point waiting for the sun to basically shine or for the water, light to penetrate to where I could see this fish so I didn't mess it up. And it's about 10 a.m. now before I can finally see the bottom, and that fish is nowhere to be found. So I had wasted my entire morning bite on this bedfish that completely disappeared, left.
Oh my gosh.
And so at that moment, I started running the points, and there was boats on every one of them, and I didn't want to just pull up on somebody. So I just kind of just worked my way up the lake. And finally, at like around 11:30, 12 o'clock that day, I said, heck with it. I'm just going to run as far as I can and find something new. And I actually pulled out like a floating worm, a bubblegum one, and caught a catfish. So now we're almost at 1 o'clock, and that's the only thing I've caught. I come around a corner and I see a little bit of water willow, a little bit of grass.
Yeah.
And I reach down my rod locker and grab a frog. It was a Fred frog color, which we make with the Frog Factory now. That I did a special run at the time for another company. I pull it out and immediately I catch like a 12-inch bass. And I remember making the stupidest comment to my co-angler. We had co-anglers at that time with the elites. That's how long ago this was. And I said, I'm gonna win this tournament on a frog. And I've got 2 hours to fish. Like that was the first,
Like
whatever
no
the keeper
time at
size
all,
was, it was
right?
barely a keeper.
Yeah.
Well, I proceeded to catch about 16 and a half pounds that day. And it kind of got
2
me,
hours.
and I think I was in like 30th or 33rd, something like that, the first day of the event. But my confidence was there. I knew where I was going to start, knew what I was going to do. And I just expanded on it every day. And I think I had like a 22-pound bag the next day. And then I ended up, ultimately winning the tournament and catching a fish that blew up on my frog every day at the last minute, which it was the first fish mount I ever got, actually, a replica of it. It was Sugar. We named it Sugar.
Sugar.
So, when I finally got it, it was a neat, I won the tournament. So
how big was that fish? It blew up on your frog.
It was almost 7. It was 6. I think it was 6:14 or 6:15. And I remember when I hooked it, I actually pinned her, and she got stuck. She got stuck into a buckbrush because the water was kind of up in the river, and it was cheese mat around it, and she literally ate it. And I set the hook, and she got stuck into the mat, and I was like, oh gosh. One of the other fish I caught up there was a Grinnell, right, a mudfish, critter. And so when I got up there, I was actually really scared to reach in the water. And
you're thinking it's a mudfish, right?
Yeah. So I actually when I reached my arm in, I reached around the tail first. I didn't want to get near the head of the fish, and I felt my way up to feel the dorsal fin. And when I felt that spike of the dorsal fin, I was like, "Oh, that's a largemouth." I knew I knew it was a bass. So then I reached in its mouth and grabbed it.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I was I know, like John Murray had messaged me, after watching. He's like, "Dude, what?" He's like, "What were you thinking? You had $100,000 fish on. You're scared?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Oh crap!
That was
That's
exciting.
unreal.
It was a cool deal. So
you think it was on a bed? Like what? Why would it blow? Like it was just
I think it was just that time of the day. I've noticed that with frog fishing over the years. There's little windows, that those fish really feed. And this was a 2 o'clock bite. I mean, it seemed like every day at 2 o'clock. I could go by that stretch before and not get a bite, but at 2 o'clock that fish would hit almost every time. It was almost like conditioned to. Maybe it was the time of the day the brim really got up, and it was just a vulnerable spot for them to be. There was a lot of brim beds in that area. There was also a shad spawn in the morning, and I think a lot of them were engulfing shad in the morning. Then they got kind of full on them, and later in the day they just
they
if a brick went by,
brim, right?
So I couldn't tell you exactly why, but it just I've in the years following or even before that, if I ever got a frog bite in practice and not swung on it, and that's the hardest thing to do, right? I usually can go back around the same time I got that bite and get that fish to bite again. So they're almost the most reliable fish. I know hookup ratios and everything else might be down a little bit when you're frog fishing, but when you find a blow up or a big fish on a frog and you don't catch it in practice, you could probably go back there and get her again. Have another opportunity at it. So other than fishing like ledge fish, what's that?
So you go back during the same time. Like let's say you get this bite at 10 a.m. in practice, day before the tournament. You're going to go back in that same area around 10. Like if you go earlier, they usually won't bite. Is that kind of the case?
Yeah, unless it's a tidal deal, it might be an hour later because the tide swings.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, absolutely. Yeah, try to be there around the same time. I think these fish, they just get conditioned to their environment and when to feed. And
never even thought about it like that.
Yeah, now there's also some variables. If they're pulling water, certain things like that on different lakes. But
for sure. But
absolutely,
if it's just like Lake Murray.
Yeah, I see it out here at Lake Darnell all the time.
Yeah, totally. So we kind of briefly touch on this, but let's kind of dive into the Frog Factory and what it started off before, your idea behind it, why you wanted the company, and then how you're pretty much fully in with GSM. You know what I mean? There's Frog Factory
Yeah.
in your boat. You were in a Phoenix hat. You were in Buckeye. It's kind of a
Yeah.
cool full circle, in my opinion.
No, I mean, obviously it's a blessing and an opportunity, and I'm very thankful for GSM for believing in me on this. But I've dabbled with other companies with frogs in the past, and we ended up starting our own company with some good friends of mine, the Stanford Bait Company. We did the Boom Boom Frog originally, but I'll be honest with you, they're older in their age, and they don't need to be working a tackle company. They need to be enjoying their lives.
Exactly.
Buddy and Marsha Reed, great. They're basically family to me. And so I called up Crispin one day and said, "Hey, would you be interested in purchasing the Boom Boom Frog?" And he was excited and said, "Thank you for coming to me first." And we negotiated a deal and we got it going. And we started up. And he's got a lot of great ideas too with frogs. And I mean, coming from his background, and it just worked out perfect. They had an opportunity to purchase Stanley at the same time and get the rivets, which, in my opinion, are the best buzzing style toads.
Totally.
So now we've got an all amphibious lineup of baits, and we're working on some new ones. I've been prototyping hard the last several weeks this new Boom Boom Frog that we're doing, and we just made some. In my opinion, when I made the Boom Boom Frog, it was the best frog out there, and I'm like, how can we make it even better? And I think we've just done that. So the guys are going to be really excited
for sure.
Any negative thing that we saw, when you look at like. Tackle Warehouse, for instance, you look at any of those things and there's always comments and stuff, and you look at all that and you're like, well, I wonder how we could, improve this. And you look at those and you work on those issues, and then you come out with something that there's no reason for anyone to say that there's a better frog out there. And that's what we've done. And I promise you, this new frog I've already weighed in big fish in several tournaments already with the prototype. So
heck yeah, that's
it's been fun.
I saw a picture of one. It looked like a 6 or 7 pounder. I was like, dang, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's been nuts. So
I love it.
Now, granted, I'm still throwing the regular one too. So don't get me wrong. I mean, it's just some little tweaks here and there. So
no, definitely, it's gonna be great. I'm really excited for it. I'm sure other people are too.
Mm-hmm.
So, Fred, what do you think, separates you from other frog fishermen? Like, how can, I guess, someone be as good as you? Like, how does someone go from a good frog fisherman to a great frog fisherman? Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, I'd say it's just like any other technique. You just need to put away all your other rods. Get you 2 or 3 frog rods out, play with different gear ratios on your reel so you can understand how, what I like to do when I'm frogging is I like a certain cadence for the most part. Now, fish will always tell you what they want, but I want to learn with that cadence how each gear ratio on different reels is going to react. Have that bait influence that bait basically. So, I mean, we did a frog seminars could go on for hours, but one of the things that I like to do is I like to have 3 ratio reels. If I get on a true frog bite, and that is my game plan, and I think I can catch 5 big ones doing it. I'll probably have the same frog that I figure is probably the best situation. It may vary throughout the day. Early in the morning, I may start with a darker color and transpire to a lighter color frog, depending on situation. But it'll probably be 3 frogs on my deck of the exact same. And what I do is I have one on a 6.5, one on a 7.3, 7.4, something like that, and then I have one on a faster retrieve. And a lot of times, especially in tidal situations, as water levels are falling, you need to take in consideration those fish aren't going to be able to come straight up and come back down on the frog. They're going to have to lunge at it. So you're getting more of a one-shot opportunity. If they come up in deeper water, 2-3 foot, and come back down, you have a great chance of either throwing that frog back out there or having a follow-up bait. Like the Yama Tanuki is probably my favorite follow-up bait to be able to throw on it, but with the 3 different gear ratios. So let's take Sam Rayburn, for instance. Okay. If I'm fishing some of that, like that grass, the hay grass fields, and then there's a little water behind it, I want a slower retrieve because I want to walk that frog almost in place, right? So a 6.5, somewhere around there, a slower retrieve will get that frog going. And here's the thing about a slower retrieve. You also have better power in your gearing, right? You can
really wrench them, right?
you can wrench them out better,
Yeah.
right? So if you do have some thicker, heavier mat, the slower retrieve does help you a lot. Then if I'm just, in search mode, like I've got these little areas and then I want to burn down the bank, then I'll pick up my 8 and I'll just fire and fish really, really fast. But then if I get a blow up, or 2, then I'll slow down and I may pick up the 7, which if somebody wants to just go throw a frog, I tell them to go with a 7. For the most part, anything 7, 7.2, 7.3, 7.4, whatever the reel that you're throwing offers, somewhere in that 7 is about the best between, the 6 and the 8. So I don't like going way too fast with it because you tend to overwork it. The thing about a fast reel is you can, if you do get a blow up and you miss it, you can wind it back in and get it back out there quicker.
Right back out there, right? Yeah.
But it's not, yeah. So
no, that's cool. Like I never even really thought about having 3 different gear ratios to work your frog differently. Kind of talking about working your frog and the cadence. How do you actually like? Are you a twitch, pause, twitch, pause? Kind of how do you do it, especially like if your boom frog? Do you switch it up all the time with their biting? Like, what's your go-to cadence, I guess?
Yeah, a lot of times the fish will kind of tell you, but for the most part, if I just pick up a frog, I like to walk it nice and slow. I like to. Okay. That's the cool thing about the boom frog. We designed it to walk really, really easy. So every time you snap that rod, it's going to turn 180. So you're just. But I go back and I watch film of myself throwing a frog, and it sure looks like I'm fishing it really, really fast. When in reality, it's just me making it walk fast like this, but it's not coming forward because I'm probably throwing a slower retrieve than most people think on the reels. I think that's probably kind of like an illusion. Like they go, man, he's burning them in. They just assume I'm throwing an 8-to-1 reel or something because I'm really not. Rarely do I ever go to an 8. 7's about 90% of the time.
That's wild. I just love like having the 3 different rods and
and all of them are usually the same braided line. I use Cortland Master Braid 50-pound. It's a great line. It's strong. It holds that impact strength when you get a blow up. Even if you get a blow up 5 feet from the boat, you can set the hook and rely on it. So
obviously you're with Phoenix rods. Is there a rod, like let's say you're skipping a frog underneath the dock? What, like, do you switch up that rod with, let's say you're fishing, a big mat field on, like maybe Sam Rayburn are throwing a big mat, like, really thick grass. Are you going to switch up the rod or
I'll be honest with you,
all the same?
This dude right here, I got introduced to this one last year.
I love it.
This is the M1. I know, I got it right here, right? And I'm gonna go through this whole setup with you real quick because
I love it.
This is here. I'll turn it this way. So I don't know if you can see here. This is the M1 series. This is a 7'4" heavy action. Okay. They do make an extra heavy, but I love this heavy just about all purposes with a frog. And here's why. The tip. It's kind of hard to do this with this. You got about that much flexibility right there from the tip. That is going to allow you to skip the frog up under cover. It's going to allow you to walk it. It's going to allow a load rate, which means when that fish grabs it and you go to swing, it times it. It's almost like a perfect timing for the hook set to get those fish without pulling it out of their face too fast, right? This thing is pure backbone. Like this, you can hoist them out of any cover with this thing. We've been catching a lot of big fish on it. And it's real light of a rod, and you can fish it all day. And it's funny because you look at the reel I'm throwing. This is actually, I'm not sponsored by Shimano or anything, but this is an SLX. This is just one of their XTs, but it's a this one right here. We got a 7.4 to 1, or what is it? 7.2 to 1 ratio reel on this one. But it's a cheaper reel, but it's got like you can lock the drag down. So like some of their Corrados and stuff, they'll slip, right? Yeah. So this is like. I like this reel. It casts far. It does what it needs to do. But yeah, so and then of course I got the Cortland Master Braid on there.
You're really just one rod, pretty much.
I use that one rod across. Yeah, I have been.
That's cool.
Maybe if I went down to like, and I knew for a fact I was getting 8 to 10 pound blowups every time, maybe I'd go to a little bit heavier rod. But even then, I don't know. I'd jack them with that, and I haven't had any issues. And the hook, So you see that tail come down, you set the hook immediately, and that rod, there's no wait. You don't have to sit there and wait for the fish to grab it,
Yeah, that's great.
It's just a perfect load rate. It's hard to find a rod that's perfect like that.
Yeah. Do you trim up your tail at all to make it walk any better? I know I've dabbled in that.
So what I do here's one of my boom frogs right here. Okay,
Yep.
all I do, and a lot of it's funny because some people like to go offset or whatever. I go straight across evenly, and I cut about half an inch off. That's about it, and really it just makes it more compact. But this bait, this boom frog, if you notice the sides are real flat right here.
Yeah.
So when you pop it, when you walk it, it actually you can make it kind of almost slap water, spray water a little bit. But it walks amazing. And then we made a real heavy eye tie on this frog. And what that does is when it walks and you kill it, it gives it an extra little hop. It kind of teeters from that weight on the bottom and adds a weight here. So as you're walking this thing and you kill it, it's going to give an extra little hop to it. That's a little trick. And then we've got the frog fur. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we got the frog fur on here. That's something that I call it like training wheels for frogging, especially for guys that are just getting into frog fishing, because they can't blow it out. Like it gets caught in their teeth, like Velcro. Like it is. I mean, it's frog.
Literally.
It's the loose side and the teeth of the hook side, right? And they engulf it and they can't blow it out. So your timing's a little bit easier. If you're fishing over a lot of heavy vegetation, I actually go ahead and pull it off. And the reason I do that is because it can get some grass and stuff caught in it as well. And you want that frog to land right side up every time. So, these are some of the little improvements we're doing on the new one as well. But I love it. Man, it's awesome. And then when they eat that thing, dude,
it's gone. Yeah. It's cool how intricate it is. You know what I mean? It's like there's so many different little things you can do to a frog just to make it that much better. Yeah. Right. A little bit more splashing whenever you work it.
Mm-hmm. I like to snap it pretty hard too. I like to really get the commotion going.
And it'll walk the whole way.
Oh, right? It walks the whole way. Yeah. You can chug it too. I mean, you can work it however you want to do it. But when you get that thing walking and you get the rhythm down,
it's perfect.
It's just a matter of time before big girl comes up and eats it. The biggest thing is you just never take your eye off the opponent. You know what I mean? Like I remember someone saying that a long time ago, and it's so true. Like, yeah,
keep your eye on it. I love that.
Yeah. Because if you do, that's when they bite. It's like they always, and that's kind of where the frog fur comes into place because it will help that situation, right? They look away and
boom. Yeah,
little. If it gets you one more fish a day. So, and then as follow-up bait, we're talking about that briefly.
Yeah.
Here's my new favorite follow-up bait right here. This is the Yamamoto Yamatanuki. It's a heavy-weighted Yamamoto bait. It's real dense, but you rig it, and you can, if you're throwing a frog, I would just go straight braid with it with a 4/0 or 5/0 EWG style hook. And what's neat about it, if you look, it's almost the same size, same profile as a frog, right? So they get the blow up. You got about 4 seconds to be able to fire something in there. That fish is still looking.
What just happened, right?
Drop this in there, let it fall, and they'll eat it almost every time. I mean,
do you put a weight on that, or since it's such heavy stuff, plastic?
It's heavy, and that's the thing. It's about the same weight, right? So you could actually have this rigged up on a very similar rod and throw that as a follow-up bait, and it's
just ready to go.
It's almost the same weight as the frog. Everything's almost perfect. So, it's like it to me is the best follow-up bait.
I love it,
and it makes enough impact in the mat to where they're like, oh, there it is, and they grab it, and they don't let go of it, with all that salt and everything in it. So,
so you've kind of been all over the country. You really said your roots started out west, and now you're in Arkansas, if I'm not mistaken, right? Where is the best place you've ever been in terms of maybe your best frog bite in a tournament? Fun fishing. Where is like, hey, this is my all-time go-to place for frog fishing?
I've had incredible frog bites all over, and that's a tough one. I could say Lake Murray, but that's not true. That was just a great event then. I haven't really gotten on them doing that since. Now, La Crosse, Wisconsin was my first win that really got me to be able to do this professionally. Kind of gave me that little boost I needed from being dead like dead broke, like negative in my account broke. Because I won a tournament up at La Crosse throwing nothing but a frog. And when that happened, that was back in 2005. That's when I realized maybe I do have what it takes to do this. So La Crosse is always a special place. Every time we go there, I think I usually have about 7 rods rigged up with frogs every time I go there. And then the California Delta, of course. I mean, that's where I cut my teeth doing it. Clear Lake is unbelievable for frog fishing. Of caught several 9-pounders. I even caught a 10 once in a tournament at Clear Lake. But then I think probably one of my favorite, this is crazy because we're going all over the country here. I mean, obviously down in Florida, there's a lot of great frog fishing down there, but upstate New York, Lake Champlain.
What?
Yeah, like Missisquoi Bay, all those little creeks. I mean, it's incredible frog fishing up there. Now it gets overlooked, especially in today's day of fishing. But
smallmouth, right?
Yeah. Back in well, I had an event there. It was the first time I ever went there, and it was when FLW, when Major League Fishing, it was FLW back in the day. They had it was a $200,000 tournament. And I was in, it was like an hour left in the day. I was up Missisquoi Bay, and I had a 4.5 pounder in my boat. And I went to cull with that wasn't the one I was culling. I was culling some smaller ones. I turned my back to my live well, and a 4.5 jumped out of my live well back into the lake. I needed to catch some more fish, but I ended up with like 18. I should have had over like 22 pounds that day. I missed the top 10 cut by ounces, and I should have. And then they started the weights over, right? And I had all that to myself. There was nobody up there doing that back then. So I really felt like that fish jumping on my live well cost me $200,000. I ended up 12.
I mean, that's the worst.
But here's the worst part about that.
That is the worst I've ever heard.
That fish not only jumping out of my live well, I struggled throughout the season, right? And I was real green on a lot of different things, and never seen these lakes before. There wasn't social media. There wasn't YouTube. You couldn't you know what I mean? You couldn't just, the research was paper map you got at Walmart when you were getting your fishing license. Well, anyway, I ended up 101 in the points, and they would not let me back in next year because I missed it by top 100 out of 200 requalified. So that fish cost me requalifying. So then I had to go up to the Northern Everstart Series, and that fall, and that's when I won lacrosse throwing a frog. So the frog really, got it's
started
in my career, right? I mean, that's what got me going. So
oh my gosh. So you
I got back into the FLW the next year.
So you got back in, thankfully, but not to rehash it, you kind of left the live well open, turned around, do something, and it just skyrocketed out. Is that
dude? It went thump. And we had a co-ang on the back deck, and he just let it go by him. Probably because I didn't give him a frog. So
you're like, nah, I'm throwing this up here.
Well, I mean, I was trying to win.
No, I get it, 100%. So, what advice would you give to someone that's just starting out frog fishing? Like, even if it's a kid on a pond, like, other than obviously just keep doing it. What the cadence, how long you got to wait for him to bite it. You kind of said 7-4 just loads up perfectly. You don't really have to wait from that long to bite it. What advice would you give to someone that has no idea about frog fishing, a very young angler?
Well, the first thing you do is you go get you a Boom Frog. Now, what you want to do is, and I mean, most people don't realize, because I have kids getting, I've got young kids of my own, and my youngest is, we do a lot of pond fishing, and they're all into doing that. They come over and they want to just tie a frog on the mono. First of all, we need to get them going with some braided line. We got to get them, like I said, I use that Cortland Master braid, but you got to have like a 50-pound braid. That is going to help you with the hook set and everything. Then the next thing is, like with your drag on your reel, lock it up, tighten it as much as you can to where you cannot pull that drag. Most reels are set between 14 and 18 pound on the drag pressure. So just the tighter you can get it, you want to make sure it doesn't slip on the hook set. And then get you, like I said, somewhere for a kid, somewhere maybe around 7-foot rod in a heavy action. You don't want a real soft one, but you also don't want one that's like a broomstick that's too stiff. A flipping stick, in my opinion, is most times way too stiff of a rod for throwing a frog. So that's the cool thing about braid, is having a more limber rod. You can get away with, using braided line. You can get away with it.
Totally. So it's really going to stick them, right?
Yeah, and you're going to stick them. And the biggest, and then the other thing is just, if you can pay, and for kids, their eyesight's a lot better than us older guys, right? Yep. Watch that tail. If that tail's coming down, set the hook immediately. If you just kind of see a swirl, let them have it just for a brief second, and then set the hook. But
it's cool.
And the biggest thing is just go out there and throw it. The more blow-ups you get, the more you start hooking them, your hookup ratio will start going up, and that's how you get confidence in it. But yeah, most time when they eat this thing, they eat it.
They get it good, right?
They get it good.
So how do you stay calm? Like, let's say even you're out fishing big mats. Sometimes I've had the experience where, bluegill are kind of underneath it looking at the frog, and the bass come up and eat the bluegill, but it looks like they're eating the frog, but they're missing it. How do you stay calm and be like, all right, this is going to happen? You've missed, 7 or 8 in a row. What's your process to like, hey, okay, calm down. I can get him to bite this. What do you kind of do for that? Does that
Yeah, I mean, and again, like if I get a blow up, right, and I miss it, or if you get in an area where you hear the bluegill popping and snapping, and it could be lily pads, it could be mats, it could be whatever. That's always a really good sign. It's a healthy environment, and there's going to be bass under there. I promise you. The biggest thing is if you get a blow up, throw around it a little bit, but don't overwork that area. Just kind of go past it. Make sure no one else comes in behind you.
Yeah.
Give it a 15, 20-minute break. Let it kind of set back up, and then go back over there and remember where you got that blow up. You'll probably get that fish to bite again after a certain amount of time. But if you just sit there and try to overwork it, I think you could condition that fish not to want to grab it at all. So, but yeah, I think the biggest thing is just, as long as you're getting some kind of, it could be a simple thing from slowing the frog down. If you're over heavy mat, I really don't think color is going to be an issue. They're not seeing the color at all. But when you stare at a mat for a long time and you're fishing a frog, you start noticing different color changes in that mat, and those are probably more of your alleys. So then you start working your frog a little bit different. When you see like the heavy, thick stuff, you might kind of shake it a little bit more, or when it gets in the loose stuff, that's where you want that blow up to be, because you'll probably get a better hookup. So
right.
Kind of keep it there in that strike zone a little bit longer.
Do you put any beads or weights or anything in your frogs whenever you're fishing that really,
Well, so that's a good thing you just said that, because one of the things about this frog right here is you see this little spot on the top. Let me get the white one. It might be a little easier to see. So this is the Diva color. You see that little round spot right there?
Yeah.
Can you see that? All right. So what I'll do is I'll shove some little BBs in there in the bottom of it. If I'm fishing real thick mats, I'm talking Gunnersville mats, fall Chickamauga mats, Delta mats, and then I'll take some clear Gorilla Glue and I'll put it right there. But when you do that, there's no, you can't squish the frog, because if this hole is clogged up, it's basically trapped air in there. So with that little hole right there, the idea behind that is you poke a hole into it. Take a fish hook with a barb and rip a hole right through that top part, and that'll allow the air to compress. So when you're fishing over heavier mats, you can weight this thing down, and now you can fish it up over the mats. That's something we did on it. Something we don't really advertise about this frog, but that is the beauty of this Boom frog, is you can do that.
Yeah,
and it gives you a spot. It gives you a spot, a blowhole, basically.
To be honest,
like a whale blowhole is what it is.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't even know that myself. So you think whenever you put in these beads, weights, what does that do to the frog that really makes those fit? Do you think they can hear it better? What's the deal with that?
I mean, it's just more sound on it. It's just more noise. They do come with a glass rattle. There is a glass rattle in all of them. I mean, it's not, it's not super loud, but there is a little bit of a rattle in there. But yeah, it just a little more noise, a little more. You really want that mat to pulsate. Like if you're throwing a frog and the mat's just staying still and there's no movement around it, you're probably wasting your time. Now, if it's like throwing it over ice, right?
Yeah.
I tried it in my pond. It doesn't work.
They just have no idea it's there. They can't really hear it. But if you kind of weigh it down, it's going to really let it
weigh it down. If you can get there and just really shake that frog, and that, I use my rod tip downwards, but just, showing you what I'm doing is if you can make that rod, that frog shake on that mat, they know it's there. They're very aware of their surroundings. Okay. And that's the biggest thing too, is if you're easing around mats with your trolling motor stuff, and I have a hard time, like I am guilty of it, but you don't want to blow through them. You want to really slow down, and almost not use your trolling motor.
Kind of methodically fish through it, right?
Yeah.
Cover every area.
Exactly.
Can you kind of touch on a little bit more? Sorry, we keep talking about mats, but that is the main thing in my mind for frog fishing. Yeah. Where you kind of see the discoloration. It's like this looks like this, and you said it kind of a channel might run through it. Can you touch a little bit more on that?
Yeah, I mean, most areas that I fished, like I'll take La Crosse, Wisconsin. We had a Bassmaster Elite Series event there. Um, I'm not sure if it was 2014, something like that. Anyway, we were all fishing down there in this one area, kind of the south part of Pool 8, and we were all just in this one. I mean, it was everybody was throwing frogs, and at the end of the tournament, there was, I think I was the last one that made the, I was the only one that made the cut there. And what I keyed in on was there's little drains in that area.
Yeah.
And those are little channels. So I had really kind of learned it. And I've fished that area before, so I seen it when it wasn't as heavily vegetated, I guess you could say.
Yep.
Stoddard. It was, the area is called Stoddard. And so I just kind of had a better idea of where I wanted to fish my frog. But if you started looking at those mats, you saw a little bit lighter color, and then you saw the darker where it was just thicker grass. So that little bit yellower was more of channels that those fish could really go through and feed on. So I was trying to work my frog along the edges of those and not waste my time in the real thick grass, even though the whole thing was matted over. Once I really got that dialed in, it led to a 4th place finish. So
Yeah, you're in the more, like, I guess, high percentage areas.
yeah,
Your frog was in the longer, stripes
yeah,
for longer,
exactly,
right? Okay.
exactly. And that's just paying attention to it and looking at it. And when you start getting a blow up somewhere, kind of get an idea why did you get that blow up right there? Was there a bush or something there? Was there a stump? Was there, something that may hold the fish? And then if you know where the other ones are, then you can kind of just key in on those certain things.
Yeah.
But if it's a drain, it's the same thing.
Love it. So let's say you pull up to, like, this is kind of my last question for you. You pull up to, like, what is the best case scenario for frog fishing? Like temperature, weather, and then what's your favorite type of cover to fish a frog? So it's kind of a 2-parted question.
I love the heavy mats like you were talking about. So we'll answer that one first. I think if I can get around some heavy mats that are, that the fish are there. I mean, that's where I will spend a lot of time on those mats. I feel like you don't have to cover a lot of water. You can stay in one spot and you can really cast around and catch them. So that's probably my favorite. Now open water frogging, I love that as well. So I mean, it's either one.
Frogging, right?
Those are yeah. I just like throwing a frog. What was the other part of that question?
What is your, like, best conditions? Like, you pull to, like, I can catch them on a frog today.
Yeah, I feel like so early in the year. I mean, obviously we're in spring right now. I probably throw frogs sooner than most. And I'll give you guys a little tip here. Obviously, the shallower the water is going to warm up the quickest. So we were at Red Crest several years ago. We got moved from Palestine to Eufaula, Alabama, and I had a little area that had some lily pad stems, and I was watching that water temperature first day, like in practice, was in the 40s. And as the tournament went on, it got to 52, and I pulled the frog out at 52 degrees and fired it. And that was where I was sitting. But I knew if I can get my bait as far back in there, it was going to be a little bit warmer, because there was a lot of like the pads were there, but there was a lot of dead stuff. So usually that'll retain a little more heat as the sun's on it. And there was a moment in the afternoon where they just lit it up. And that same area 2 weeks prior was solid ice. So
What?
yeah. So you can catch them earlier than you think with a frog, and I think people just overlook that. But now the prime time for throwing a frog, in my opinion, is really like spawn, like the heart of the spawn when the water's 65. Then you start getting into, right after the bass spawn, you start getting a little bit of shad spawn going. So that's really key in the morning. I love frogging in first thing in the morning during shad spawn, and then the brim spawn right after the bass. So at the same time, you can go from a shad spawn the same day and then go hit brim beds the rest of the day with the bluegill pattern or like this Fred frog color. This is the one with the orange throat on it. This is the one that I won Lake Murray on, was this color, and it's been probably my number one frog all over the place. And then I start the mornings off with this dude right here, which is my Diva color, which is more of that shad spawn. And then as the skies get really, really dark, maybe I'll go over to a black one, like this dog color right here. So, which brings me to the giveaway, right?
yeah, totally. So, guys, like we did 2 weeks ago, we got another giveaway we would love to do. It really helped out our page. Again, head over to baits.com Instagram to check it out. Fred, I would love you to just talk through this quick giveaway we're going to do.
Yeah, so let's do this. Let's give away that one I was talking about. Is we're coming into that shad spawn pretty soon. This is the Diva color. This is your white frog. Everybody should have a white frog on their deck pretty much from here on out through the summer. So here is the Diva color. It's got a little chartreuse on it, solid white belly. And then we got the Fred Frog color. It's got your greenish brown back, orange throat. And again, we got the white legs. Sometimes I'll dip these in chartreuse to just get a little more color to it. But that is the Fred Frog, Boom Frog. And then we'll give away the dog color. This is, if you go to a new lake for the first time, black is always a silhouette, just gets bit. If you want more numbers of bites, this is it. We added the red in it, and it seems like over the years, I've had some monster bags at Clear Lake throwing black and red. And, just some of the lakes where they got a lot of bigger fish, I do tend to get more big bites, even up in Wisconsin. So yeah, there you go. There's the dog color, and then we're gonna give away a pack of these Yamamoto.
I love
Yamatanukis. This is just a great fallback bait for the frog, and it's something that a lot of people overlook is having a good bait. Yamamoto Senko is a great bait as well, but I like this because it matches about the weight. When you get to throwing a certain bait or a certain technique, you're so used to that weight of throwing that bait. So when you go to a weightless Yamatanuki, it feels the same. So you're almost dead accurate from picking up that bait as you were with a frog. And it's all that muscle memory. It's just really, keeping everything the same.
Yeah.
So that is the perfect follow-up bait.
I love it. So I actually have one more question for you. So you do throw white when it's cloudy out, dark when it's, sunny out?
I go off the grain. I do that quite a bit. But typically dark skies, dark colors, right? That's just a typical in anything, whether you're throwing, frogs, swim baits, jigs.
Okay.
That's just a typical deal. If it's an afternoon cloud, like those big cumulus, thunderheads and stuff like that, dude, or like that 10 o'clock in the morning haze, I like going to a white frog, where it's just like, you just get that. I don't know what it is about it, but they will, the bigger fish. Now, here's the thing, like you take the white frog and you take the black frog, right? Typically I tell people you get more bites on it, but this dude right here in the water, it just amplifies in size, right? It just looks like a bigger, easier, full meal for a bass. Yeah, totally. This dude right here just kind of shrinks a little bit because it's dark, so it's just, so a lot of it's just, the situation.
Okay, totally. I kind of got off topic there at the end. I just wanted to ask that question. I was wondering.
You know what? I'm gonna go frog fishing. I'm gonna go hook this boat up and I'm gonna get out there. You got me excited. I'm all pumped up.
I love it. Well, hopefully you catch them. Everyone tune into the baits.com Instagram. That's where we'll do the giveaway. We're going to collaborate with Fred, Yamamoto, and Frog Factory. And, please subscribe. We really appreciate everyone joining the podcast. You can win some awesome frogs and a follow-up bait, the Yamatanuki. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Yep. Thank you.
Oh, there we go.